Hi, this is Growing Up Aspen with Andy Collin and Chris Pomeroy, and our new podcast, Movie Chat, with some students that we grew up with that got into the film, entertainment, commercial world, and we're here to talk about our experiences and how Aspen pushed us in our direction. Today, we are here with Ivan DeWolf, who went from local sculptor in high school to working in special effects in the film industry for movies like Pirates of the Caribbean. I just feel like with the new tools that there's a potential for small studios to do exactly what the big ass studios used to do. But you got to have smart people and you got to have creative people that are pushing the ground, that aren't afraid of everything, but kind of are sort of, in other words, you're not going to give them $100 million to make a movie. You're going to give them
I think
20
part of
million.
part of the problem is that it is actually quite possible now to make a feature film for a lot less money even than it used to be
Right.
possible for. However, it is much more difficult to get that film seen by
Yes.
anybody. So you could go out and you could make Taxi Driver for a fraction of what it costs to actually
Right,
make Taxi Driver, but you
right.
will never get it seen by anybody. Whereas that film, because it was so hard to make a movie back then, if you had a piece of 35 millimeter, film, and it was an hour and a half long, and you wanted to get it screened in a theater and seen by audiences in New York City, you just put it in the fucking movie theater, and people would be coming to it after dinner because they need to spend some time.
Right.
Mhm.
That's not true anymore. That era is over. So it's very hard once you've made your film, your artwork, to get it an audience without, going through Hollywood, without going through the standard distribution methods and
Well,
standard distribution
Well,
advertising.
well,
or
I'll just tell
or
you
if you
this.
pull in a major act, I think I would argue that one of the biggest marketing expenditures for any film is who you have acting in it.
Yes,
You
yeah,
get you
absolutely.
get De Niro in there. I'm sure it costs $20 million to pay him, but
Yeah,
that's money well spent because
yeah.
people know who he is and they're going to watch that movie
It's true.
for the
That is
sole
true.
reason that he's in it.
But I'll say this. Even a really well-known director like Danny Boyle did a film which supposedly was very taboo. It was a British dude doing a Bollywood film, Slumdog Millionaire.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that movie didn't go anywhere. He was about to sign a contract to go to DVD release for HBO when one of the curators at Telluride said, "Don't sign. Give me the weekend. Give me 4 days, and then if it doesn't work, you can sign."
From
So
the
what do they do? They
festival. Yeah,
bring in
that's pretty
Slumdog.
cool.
They bring in Slumdog Millionaire. They show it. It is the movie. They've never. They have maybe two or three reshows of movies. They had 8 reshows of Slumdog Millionaire, full packed every time, every screening.
Yeah,
They knew they had something at that
I
point.
hate to say this, but that's an old film now. I think
Yeah.
that isn't going to happen anymore.
No, no. But what I mean is, though, it's the process of how it got in and
Yeah,
seen.
but really, if you look at that, like the only thing that made it what you're talking about is that it slipped into mainstream distribution, right?
Well,
I don't think that there's really is a pipeline for like, small audience, but not zero audience films.
well, it always feels to me that, and I, from what I've been able to see, because I've gone to Telluride since like '94, I think, and it feels to me like the film festivals stir up movie buyers and distributors, and then they
Mhm.
pick it up at film festivals. Now, anyone can enter a film festival. Obviously, if you're a big name there, festival's going to want you in there. So it's harder to get into some film festivals than others. Like I've tried to get into Telluride. There's no way I'm getting into Telluride unless someone that knows me works on the panel and says, "Hey, Andy, I'd like to show your film." You know, but um, festivals are a way to sort of get that secret surprise film out there.
Yeah, but then the only way you get that secret surprise film out there is by ducting it into traditional distribution
Right,
networks.
right, right.
Right.
But that is,
Or going viral, which
Yeah, I mean,
is the same
you
thing. I
look at
mean,
Spike and Mike's
yeah,
animation festival.
yeah.
Those guys would actually travel with a print of their film from theater to theater and
Dude,
show it like it was a local play. They would take over the theater. They would take the box office themselves. It was a different business model.
no, yeah, it was
Short,
four walling. Yeah, they would four
yeah,
wall.
short of doing that, you're not going to find a way outside of traditional distribution methods. And the traditional distribution methods, Slumdog Millionaire was advertised in a traditional way
Yeah,
eventually.
it was, but
And
it caused,
if you're not fitting, and they're going to play with a film like Slumdog Millionaire along with their other films, like it's a deck of cards in a game of poker. They're going to play it out in the way that fits with their other slate of films, not in the way that works for your movie.
well, here's the thing with Slumdog. The movies, the studios passed on it
Hmm.
the first round,
Yeah.
but because it was so taboo.
Yeah.
But because it did so well in the film festival,
Hmm.
they thought, hey, maybe there's a shot on this. You
Yeah.
know?
So
And
they
so it wasn't until the film festival, the studios had already passed, but it wasn't until the film festival opened it up. And so I feel like the film festival is a symbol of another outlet in which you can kind of get exposure to get out there. In other words, you don't need to be the head at Warner Brothers to get something through. You could be a
Mhm.
little filmmaker, and if it hits at a film festival and does really well, then
Mhm.
again, that's about creative. That's about hitting
Do,
the right market and the right tones in the film.
do you,
But
do
in a
you have a
way,
more recent example, Andy,
yeah.
of somebody that's kind of hit that mainstream through the film festival outlet?
What was that? Do I know anyone recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan's point is Slumdogs. That's a while back. Is there something more recent you can think of that
Does
you
that still
saw at
happen, or is that
Telluride?
era over?
Yeah,
Um, I I feel like the problem that we have is, yeah, you're right. The film industry is definitely slumping and it is definitely falling into a dustbin.
Yeah.
But I also feel like with streaming and all this other stuff, that's opening up other doors too. That's just starting to happen, where you're starting to see folks that create for streamers that actually go viral or become big. You know, I feel like too a new tendency that's new that we haven't seen before is this whole episodic stuff. You know, I mean, yes, we've
oh
seen
yeah,
shows, but Yellowstone, a lot of these other Ozarks, I mean, these are designed to be seen as a whole, whereas people never really did that before. You know what
well
I mean?
they did, but basically that's the writing style is the marriage of the old melodramas and mix that into your standard story arc. You build another story arc, one third in, blah blah blah. You keep it going until it culminates in the ending where everything wraps up. Or if you have
Yeah,
a
but
second season, it gives you a teaser.
it's
But
not
yeah, it's
until
not
the
the same.
Sopranos. That didn't really happen until the Sopranos. Even the Brady Bunch didn't have shows that continually followed. I mean, none of the TV shows that we saw. It was like they would
Right.
all of them
You
out of
had
order.
one
You know?
one episode that said to be continued or something like that, but they didn't work that arc into the whole season. Now they
Well,
do
like
that. I mean, I think it's
well,
brilliant. I
well,
mean,
like Sopranos was several seasons deep, and they followed. And if you didn't see one after the other, you missed what was going on. And I feel like that's a whole new type of entertainment that has become big now.
yeah.
It almost feels like it's more about shows than it is about a film, you know?
Well, one perfect example of how that's succeeding is just looking at the A-list actors that are in those things. You look at you mentioned Yellowstone. You've got 1923 now with
Right,
Harrison Ford in
right.
it. You know,
And
that's
thanks for listening to Growing Up Aspen's movie chat podcast with Chris Pomeroy and Andy Collin and Ivan DeWolf. And we'd like to thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for letting us use material for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com or any local bookstore. Thanks.